Hey everybody, my apologies. I just realized that I had the microphone on mute. My mistake. So my apologies, and so I'll repeat what I said here in short. And I had quite a number of requests after my live yesterday to be more specific around the success formula and what can people do in order to make that formula come alive for them and make a difference in their day and their week and their month. And basically, in summary, the success formula is quite simple. It's preparation plus opportunity equals success. And I spoke yesterday quite a bit about the preparation, and I'm going to drill pretty deep into that subject in this live right now. And, the purpose of sharing this with all of you is basically to help you change and reconstruct where you spend and invest your time so that you can achieve what you want. And if your goal and definition of success is more freedom, you're going to need more money to have that freedom. Can money buy happiness? No, it can't directly, but it sure makes being happy a lot easier. So if you can find a pathway for generating wealth instead of just making ends meet and paying your bills, then you need to invest in yourself. And that's really one of the premises of the success formula in terms of preparation. If you want to work and do your job, you can make a living. But if you really want to get wealthy, and that wealth can be defined as having more freedom, more free time for your family, providing better education for your children, whatever it is that you'd like to do, traveling the world, you've got to prepare and invest time in yourself and not just work to make ends meet. So let's get into the details of what specifically you can do. And I use something that's quite simple that I call it 888. And it's obvious there's 24 hours in a day. Everybody on this planet has the same 24 hours. That's how we count time. And it becomes a new day. So the 888 is a way that I use of balancing that 24 hours. So we got 8 hours for sleep, 8 hours for work, and 8 hours to live and relax. So the 8 hours for sleep, let's get that one out of the way. That one's critical because you can't cut in to those 8 hours. And I know for a couple of decades, I was probably the worst example of this, getting 4 hours, 5 hours of sleep and putting the rest into my work and my personal life. But it's really important, regardless of your age, to get that 8 hours of sleep. And there's a lot of sleep experts. Okay. I met a wonderful person the other day on LinkedIn that she's doing something like a month's worth of videos to provide tips on how to get sleep. Okay. So if you're interested, let me know and I'll hunt that down and share her information with you. But the point is, there's a lot of tools out there. You've got to find a way to get your 8 hours of sleep, because when you're well rested and healthy, your mind is clearer and you're more creative and productive with what you do. And the success formula is built on the premise of being creative and productive. That's critical to shifting from working for a living to generating wealth by focusing more on yourself. So get that 8 hours of sleep If you're not getting it and you don't know how to get it, get some help. Ask people. You can ask me. I'll point you in the right direction. Okay. There's plenty of resources out there. So there's no excuse not to get your 8 hours of sleep. And keep in mind, I didn't say 12 hours or 14 hours. Okay. It's 8. So I know that there's people on both extremes, right? There's some people that get 4 and 5 hours and some people that kind of get 12 and 14 hours. So it's 8. Okay. And again, I'm sharing what I use with this. Okay. So let's get into the work piece of this. Okay. And what's critically important is that you place a cap of 8 hours on what you're going to contribute to your work. Okay. It's not 10 hours. It's not 12 hours, and it's not 4 hours. There's no shortcuts or long cuts. It's 8 hours. Okay. So it's really, what do you do with those 8 hours? So you're going to need to get ultra organized with this 8 hours that you're going to spend time on dedicating to your work. And it's got to get done then. You might have to cut your meetings shorter. Many of us are working from home during the era of the pandemic. I know there's commute time and all of that, but the point is, any time that you're dedicating to work, you need to calendarize however you deem appropriate. Okay, you write it down in the calendar, you use your phone, you use your Outlook at work, but it's 8 hours. And if it doesn't fit in that box, you have to find a way to make it fit, because you're going to need that other 8 hours for living and relaxing. That's all part of this as well. I'll get to that in a few minutes, but 8 hours for work, define it, get productive. Okay. And there's no reward for working 10, 12, 14 hours, because then you're working for a living and you're not becoming wealthy by investing in yourself. Okay. So 8 hours, compress it that way. I jotted down a few ideas here that I did over a number of years to really make that 8 hours productive. The tip number one is to take one of those 8 hours and save it. Okay. This could be 2 30-minute coffee breaks. It could be a 1 hour coffee break, but you take one of those 8 hours. Okay. I don't care which it is, morning, afternoon, whatever it is, but it's within that 8 hours. And that's going to compress your day, your workday down to 7 hours. And that 1 hour is for yourself. Okay. So let's just assume that you take 2 30-minute coffee breaks. Okay. Now, if you do the simple math on that over a month, that's 20 hours based on a 5-day work week, right? And again, you do the same thing at home, whether you're physically in the office or you're working from home due to the pandemic. But you take that 1 hour every day, that amounts to nearly a full day after just 4 weeks. Okay. And you haven't even eaten into your weekend. It's quite amazing when you do the math. So 2 months is 2 days that you're investing in yourself. Okay. By taking one of your work hours. I know you're getting paid for the 8 hours, but remember, you don't get paid for time, because if you got paid for time, then you wouldn't have to work. You just collect a check. Okay. You can pass time by watching TV. So we don't get paid for time. You get paid for value that you deliver to the marketplace. Okay. That's crucial for you to understand this concept. You know, on this channel, on the Packard Network, I promote concepts. And these are concepts that you can do and tailor to your own needs, whether you're a banker, an entrepreneur, or you're retired, and you can tailor these concepts to achieve anything you want. And in this particular concept, being able to reduce your 8 hours of work per day to 7 and take that 1 hour of savings, okay, is a critical part of this concept. And I'll explain why. So what do you do to save that 1 hour? What can you do? I jotted down a couple of things here. You can, the first thing you can do is take your physical calendar of 8 hours. You've got meetings spread throughout the day. You are just unavailable. You need to block that hour or block 2 30-minutes if that works. I wouldn't recommend 4 15-minute sessions because it's not enough to really get into what we're going to talk about in a moment, but block the time on your calendar. Okay. And that's a time that you cannot let any invaders in. So you've got to silence your phone. You've got to shut off. You're just not available. You book a meeting with yourself. You have a very important meeting with yourself. That's how you do it. You can find a way to make this work, or 2 30-minute meetings. Okay. That's all you need to do. You can do this. Okay. So block it, make it happen, because this is important to you. This concept, remember, will help transform your days and weeks and months from earning a living and making ends meet to becoming wealthier and having more freedom. Okay, so what do we do with that hour, you might ask, right? So let's say that I block 2 30-minute coffee breaks, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. Okay, what am I going to do with that hour? Okay, I jotted down a few ideas here. One is that I was able to do is study your boss. Every boss has great characteristics and not so great characteristics. And what I did with all of my bosses, and I know some people did this with me, right? I led tens of thousands of people over the course of 29 years in many different parts of the world. And I know people study the boss, right? So you should study the person generating your paycheck. If you're an entrepreneur or a business owner, you study your customers, you study your best customers, your wealthiest customers. There's always somebody to pick and study. So you study the particular characteristics of your boss, the good characteristics that they have that you don't have. You study those, you learn those, you figure out what can you do to develop those good characteristics. Then flip the coin over and study those characteristics that you don't want to be like. You know, I had great bosses and I had not so great bosses, and everybody, myself included, has characteristics that are not great. But what I learned is to study characteristics in people that you don't want to have yourself. Okay. And I guarantee you, this will fill up your hour. Okay. For months if you do it properly. So you study those characteristics. You ever wonder why, for you golfers out there, or you can pick any sport or hobby, and let's say you watch a golfer win a golf tournament, and you watch all 4 days. A typical professional tournament, PGA tournament is 4 days, right? And then you go play golf the following week. You're going to play really well, okay, because you've studied that golfer, right? This concept is no different. You study the person and specifically the characteristic that you want to have. You know, I had a great leader back in the San Francisco days, early in my career. His name is Herb Myers, and I studied him. He didn't know it. Well, he probably did know it. He's a smart, very smart person, but I would study what he would do. Okay. So I had to take his direction and follow him. He's a great leader, but I had to study what he was doing to motivate, inspire, direct, manage people, right? Because people followed him from around the world over the course of his career. And I studied those characteristics and studied his process, his discipline. Okay. And I picked those disciplines that I felt I could add to my arsenal and built those in and learned how to do those. I would write down in my diary, okay, if he was talking about how to build a sales plan and how to have a leadership meeting with the branch team, okay, I would write down those tactics in my diary, okay, on the tips that he was giving. So I would then go back and do the same thing with my team. But more importantly, I was writing a diary for my future and learning something that he had learned over 30 years in his career at the time, right? And so I was developing myself in addition to doing my job. So one is study your boss. Do a gap analysis on yourself is another idea. Understand where your gaps are. Be honest with yourself, right? You don't need to do a fancy human resources study. Those are good ideas, by the way, 360-degree reviews. But this is something, my concepts are something that you can do yourself for free, and you can start today. That's what you get on the Packard Network. So do your own gap analysis on where you think your weaknesses are. Okay. And you can spend these 2 coffee breaks a day working on those weaknesses. You've got headphones, you've got YouTube, and you can learn about things from YouTube. You've got Safari or internet on your iPad, iPhone, whatever. Treat this phone, okay, like an encyclopedia. That's what it is. This is not Facebook. I'll talk about Facebook in a little while, but this needs to be a key resource. You know, I've got 80 books, diaries, daily diaries since 1988 of concepts that I was able to capture every single day when I was working. And these 80 books, do you think that's valuable? That's the only library I really need, because I learned and I did what I'm talking about in this video since 1988. Why don't you do the same thing, right? So there's another idea for you. For those of you that have a mentor, and LinkedIn is a great platform for finding mentors. I ran across a couple today in my network, and that's what they do. They mentor people, okay? LinkedIn is just a haven for finding mentors, but study your mentor. Okay, many of you mentees out there, and I currently mentor 15 people, right? I just added one, and my schedule is full. But these 15 people, I'm tough on them, right? And they grow, they get new ideas, okay? But for the mentees out there, don't just do and embrace and follow the guidance that your mentor is giving you. What you should do is also study the mentor. You've selected that mentor for a reason. They're qualified, they're credible, they have an excellent track record. They've been around the block. They've been through crisis. I've been through so many crises. I developed, not by design, believe it or not, even though I talk a lot about designing things, but I developed a reputation of cleaning up messes. If there's a mess somewhere in a different part of the world, I'm not going to name countries, but I would get tapped on for going in the especially the last 10 years of my career. I'd get tapped on for going in and cleaning up situations, right? And turning around businesses. And so find somebody like me, okay, that knows how to clean up a mess. If you don't like to clean up messes and you just like everything to be calm, like a smooth lake in the summertime, then, you know, um, your weakness is probably cleaning up messes. Learn how to clean up a mess. That's a new skill that will help create a pathway for you to generate wealth and not just make a living. Study someone you respect. Okay. You know, if you don't like these ideas of studying your boss, studying your mentor, doing a gap analysis on yourself, find somebody you respect. Pick a sports hero, right? Pick Tiger Woods, right? I studied him. There's probably 100 people in my network that you could talk to that would tell you about stories that I used to lay out for people around the great person and champion and world-class citizen that Tiger Woods is. Okay. And there's others as well. So anyway, I think you get the point. You pick somebody that you respect and study them and their characteristics, the good and the bad. You pick the good, you avoid the bad, and that's what you do. Learn how to use LinkedIn to pick up new skills, right? Spend an hour every day building your network, or more importantly, talking to your network, engaging with your network, asking for advice. People on LinkedIn love to be asked for advice. Why do you think they're writing about and posting? Okay, they're delivering. It's free. It's free school, right? I didn't have anything like this when I was going to school, and actually for most of my professional career, I did not have a resource like LinkedIn. Okay. And again, I'm not talking about Facebook now. I'll talk about that later. That's more for fun. Okay. But use LinkedIn as a resource as well. Mentors, bosses, LinkedIn. Pick a subordinate. Okay. Pick an employee that you respect. It doesn't have to always be your boss, but pick an employee. And what's great, I've had so many employees, and they know this, that are so much better than I am at certain things. You find that employee and study them if you're the boss, right? That makes you a great leader. Put the ego to the side. Like Daniel Chow recently on my live podcast talked about, put the ego to the side, and the things you can do are amazing, right? Okay, so that's a short list of ideas. If you need more, there's a lot more, but I'm going to kind of move on, because I know that those watching this are intelligent, and I think you get the drift of what I'm talking about here. So, after a month, you've spent a whole day implementing these ideas I'm talking about, right? And you're well on your way to developing something new in that preparation plus opportunity equals success. This is the preparation we're talking about, okay? And how you're preparing yourself, okay, to be bigger than you are today. If you change, everything will change for you. If you don't have enough money now, okay, I'm not going to get into a debate, but if you don't have enough money now, you've really got to have a conversation with yourself. One, about your spending, okay? And number two, you're not earning enough, right? So don't sit around and wait for a raise, because it's probably not going to come. Don't fall into the victim cycle of thinking that the world owes you everything. The world doesn't, right? I'm sorry to be frank with you, but that's what you're going to get on my channel. So if you change, everything will change for you. So if you're not happy with your bank account, then change something, develop a new skill. Because remember, if you're subscribing to the myth that you get paid for your time, then you're just not going to build wealth. It's not going to happen. Okay. The reality is the more value you deliver to the marketplace, that's where the wealth is. So invest in yourself, prepare. Okay. Now, I'm going to finish up on the work piece here, and then I'm going to get into the living piece of the 8 hours. So I'm still on the work piece. That's a big chunk because too many people spend too much time at work. Okay. So you take one of your team, okay, or partner, okay. There's people, business owners, people working in corporations, individual salespeople. If you don't have a team, take a peer to coffee with you during one of these 30-minute coffees and cut a deal with your peer. Let's say you're a salesperson, right? I know there's a lot of salespeople watching my channel, okay, especially in Asia. You take a fellow, for you private bankers out there, take one of your peers to coffee for one of these 30-minute coffees and cut a deal with them where you're going to do something for them for a month and they do something for you for a month. And both of you cut a deal where you learn something from them. And we all know the truth of the matter in corporate life and in entrepreneur life. You learn by doing. There's no textbook. Okay. I'm sorry to all the educators out there. There is not a textbook for a lot of this stuff. You have to learn by doing. You have to jump in the pool, get your feet wet, and get moving. Okay. So what I want you to do, if you're a salesperson, you get a peer with you, go to coffee, cut a deal for a month. You do part of their job. They do part of your job. And you're only going to do it for an hour a day. Remember, this is your development. You're building a skill that they have that you don't have, and vice versa. Hey, you help me, I help you, right? That's actually what business is really all about. And at the end of the day, both of you walk away with more value, right? I've done all of these things. It's scattered throughout my 80 books that I'm talking about. It works. It works well. Look at my track record. Okay. Now, if you have a team of people, okay, you can do the same thing with your peer, but it's much more efficient to grab one of your team members, one of your high potential team member that's looking to grow, and you give them a slice of your job. You're the boss. You give them a slice of your job for 30 days as development. You talk about a motivator. This person is going to be incredibly motivated if you give them a slice of your job. And then next month, you can do it again. Before long, I bet you can find a way to save 2 hours of your workday for you bosses out there. And then you take the 2 hour, then you can double the time that you're putting in to yourself, and you're still getting your job done. You're still getting your job done. And all of this, I'm saying that you take an 8-hour workday and that you're not going to do your job. Okay. You're going to do your job, and you're going to do your job for those 7 hours. And by that extra hour, okay, some of the things that you learn, you're going to put into your current job. Okay. That is critical. Okay. Now, I can take questions later if further on that, further questions on that. Let's talk about the last 8 hours of the day. If you, but we've talked about 8 hours from healthy. Okay. There's no excuse now. It's just a matter of, do you want to do it or not? If you don't want to do it, then don't do it, right? You continue to earn a living. But I think you're watching this because you want to do it. You want to get better, and you want to increase your value to the marketplace because you don't get paid for your time. Okay. Now, last part, how to live. how to relax. I'm not going to, Brett Packard's not going to tell you on the Packard Network Live how to live, right? But what I will tell you is that these 8 hours right here, this is where you've got to take care of your family, and you cannot bring work into this 8 hours. That's rule number one. And don't bring your sleep into it either. Okay. So we've talked about those 16 hours of every day, and this 8 hours is for your family. It's for you. It's for Facebook. Okay. And you can let your family determine, and your responsibilities to your family, if you're going to spend 4 hours on Facebook, right? But your Facebook goes into this category. It doesn't go into the work category, right? So don't let it interfere. Do not bring work into home. Do not bring home into work, by the way. I didn't talk about that earlier, but it's common sense, right? And don't sleep with work. Okay. If you need to think about something, you can sleep on it, but don't sleep with it. Don't sleep with work, right? Don't bring it to bed with you. Okay. That's critically important. So you've got to, and if you take advantage of what I'm talking about, this 8-8-8, then you'll find that you'll take fewer problems to sleep with you. Okay. All right. So let's see. Okay. Now with COVID, okay, and the pandemic, all right, many people are working from home, and a topic that often comes up on my podcast is, what are people, people are working longer now than they were before the pandemic, and they're at home, right? So go figure that. Well, this 8-8-8 applies to you as well. Okay. So what you have to do, especially with COVID, is you've got to set that 8 hours, and that's your boundary, but you give that 8 hours or 7 hours, as I've described, to your employer. You cannot take shortcuts. You're getting paid, and you've got to do your job. Okay. But when that 8 hours is over, you're done. Okay. You focus on your living. You watch TV. It's not a very productive thing during the weekdays. I don't turn on the TV. Okay. I do on the weekends because I'm a sports fanatic, but I don't during the weekday. Okay. So don't turn on the TV. And this is your time. Okay. And all that I ask is, during this 8 hours, okay, of personal time, is that you carve out 30 minutes of this time where you can just take some deep breathing exercises and reflect on the progress that you're making to 8-8-8, and transforming yourself and your family from earning a living to becoming wealthy, or from earning a living and working your you-know-what off to having a more balanced life. This is a balanced approach. I'm about out of time now. I've gone quite a bit longer than I intended to, but I hope that I've laid out enough examples on how you can deploy the success formula in your life, which is success equals preparation. And for the last 35 minutes, you've got a lot of ideas on how to prepare. And I've split your day up into 8-8-8. That's how you prepare to go from earning a living to becoming wealthy, or to becoming happy, however you define happiness. Remember, if you want to be happy, money doesn't buy happiness, but it sure makes it a lot easier, because you got to have it. I can't sit here and tell you that you don't have it. And, and to finish the formula, opportunity. The opportunity's out there, and I'll be talking in the future about that opportunity, but you'll find that the opportunity part of the formula, success equals preparation plus opportunity. The opportunity, we're all presented with opportunities every day, and they're like radio waves falling into your backyard, right? They're there. You just have to figure out how to capture them. So you get a radio, and you can pull the radio waves out of the earth. You get a shortwave radio, and you can pull radio waves from overseas out of the air, right? So I think you get the point here. So this is all the same way, and so take the concepts, 888, start it tomorrow. Don't wait. Okay, do it now, right? Why would you wait? Okay, revamp your schedule right now when you turn off this video, and watch the video. Let me know what you think in the comments. Share the video, because you can also, if you share with other people, you become happier because you can make a difference in their life. And I thank you for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you in less than 24 hours on my live podcast, where I'm going to have Mr. Dave Tina, and we're going to talk about how one firm has been able to redefine an industry in one of the fastest growing real estate markets in the United States, in North America. So I hope you'll join me for that and some inspiration. And for now, adios. See you again soon.